Greetings, ladies and gents. My name is Cedric Jordan, and today I'm coming to you with another episode of Dispatch. And the Super Showdown just ended. It was about 4 hours, and some of the stuff was really hard to go through. But in all, I thought the show was good. We had good matches, some storytelling that made sense to do, but some of the finishes just boggled my mind. I didn't know why, and I had some feelings, before the show started, that I was like, I think some people might not be winning some titles, and maybe some of them will never win one, and which I think it's a shame. They won't get some people to win a title, but they did the show. The crowd was good. They said 70,000 plus people attended the show. I don't know how accurate that is, but I'm sure Dave Meltzer will come out in a couple of days, or maybe today or tomorrow, and give the real number, if it was any difference than the real number it is. And we're gonna see what's gonna happen. And I think some of the build-ups that's going to happen on the show, we're gonna see it on Raw and Smackdown, maybe some new chapters, but there are some feuds that are going to continue throughout, I think even until the end of the year, in which I think it's a shame, because it's the same old thing all over again. And also, the Dean Ambrose tease to be turning on his team, they continued that in the match, and I didn't like it, and I thought it's not the weakest match, but there were some good spots in that match in particular. I'm talking about the Shield versus the Dog of War, and there was another match that ended quickly, so let's just dive in and talk about the whole show. The show started with The Bar versus the New Day for the Smackdown Tag Team titles. This match started solid between the two teams. I was surprised that Big E wasn't competing in the match, and I thought maybe there is a chance for The Bar to win the titles, because the powerhouse is not being valuable, or he's going to be being competing in the match. But the crowd chanted right away, "You're a wanker," targeting Cesaro, which was, for me, it was quite funny. And then we saw a double team from Sheamus and Cesaro, which was a throwing uppercut. Sheamus threw, I think it was Kofi Kingston, into an uppercut from Cesaro, which looked awesome. And after that, we see the New Day doing a new double team. It was their finisher. It was a backstabber into a double stomp. So Xavier Woods does the backstabber. We see a double stomp from the top rope from Kofi. And 1, 2, 3, they retain the SmackDown Tag Team titles. The match was fun. It was good. Then the second match on the show, it was Charlotte versus Becky Lynch for the SmackDown Women's title. Becky was over as fuck in Australia. In the middle of the match, you can hear the crowd. They're just chanting for Becky. And they want Becky to win the match. And Charlotte, what can I say about her? She is the female Roman Reigns now in WWE. And the booking, the way that they are doing it, they're not helping themselves at all. And which, for me, I think, it is a great thing. It is a great thing to continue what they're doing and pushing Becky Lynch as a heel, as, we will see, I think, throughout the months, because that will make the fans even chant more for Becky Lynch. So at the start of the match, we see Becky Lynch pulling Charlotte from the ring, and she crashes to the floor. That looked really nasty, and she landed hard on her back. Then it became awesome, because Becky did a Fujiwara armbar that everyone thought Charlotte was going to tap out. Charlotte targeted the knees of Becky Lynch while it was trapped on the rope, and she just dived her own knees, I think, or her foot, through the knee of Becky Lynch. That looked nasty. Charlotte did a spear, but followed that with a moonsault that Becky Lynch got her knees up. Becky did a leg drop as Charlotte Flair moved away. She applied a Boston Crab. I thought maybe this is a Young Lions match between two guys who are new in New Japan, because that's the move that they use. And we see Becky Lynch reaching for the ropes. Everyone cheered for Becky Lynch when she grabbed the ropes, and she was like, yeah, we want you to still be in this match. So Becky goes to the outside, and she takes her title, and she was about to leave, but then Charlotte brings her in. She does the figure 4 leg lock on her. Becky Lynch fights back until she applies the figure 8, and as she does that, we see the title is still in the hands of Becky Lynch. She attacks Charlotte Flair with it, and it ends the match with a DQ, so this way Becky Lynch can stay the champion. Even though Charlotte Flair won by DQ, Becky Lynch is still a champion. So that's a very heelish move. And as she was leaving, we see Charlotte Flair trying to attack Becky Lynch. And, as she was attacking her, the crowd was booing the shit out of Charlotte. Like she was the heel here. But Becky Lynch gets the upper hand. She attacks Charlotte and the crowd cheers. Everyone just loves Becky Lynch. She did the big exploder on the floor on Charlotte Flair, and it looked really nasty to go through that, and the crowd just loved her. And they were just shouting her name, Becky, Becky. It was amazing. I love Becky, and especially the Australian crowd, because they get it. They know who to cheer for, and they weren't like a casual, fans that they will just cheer for whoever, they make the WWE make them to chant and to be the babyface here. No, they got it, and they were behind Becky Lynch throughout the match, and it was amazing. And I hope they still book Becky Lynch as a heel, so the crowd will chant her name even more and more and more. And I'm telling you, one day, if Becky Lynch loses the title, the crowd will just erupt and they will boo the shit out of Charlotte throughout time. And I'm kind of afraid, maybe one day, maybe just after a year, we're gonna hear Charlotte Flair, she's like a 60-time women's champion because she just loses the title and wins her back. She can never be a mid-carder. She should always compete for the title. And that doesn't work. You're doing the same thing that you're doing with Roman Reigns, you're doing it with Charlotte. So don't ruin Becky. And then, after a couple of matches, they announced that the rematch will happen this week on Smackdown. So I think that's going to be a really cool match to watch for. Elias and Kevin Owens, they were in the ring, and Elias played Thunderstruck by AC/DC beautifully. It was amazing. I mean, his fingers on the guitar, it was great, and the crowd was just loving that. They even sang, a couple of, I think it was the chorus of the song while he was playing it, and it was amazing. Then we see Bobby Lashley coming out with John Cena to start the match with Kevin Owens and Elias, and this was bullshit. The only reason that I'm saying this because where the fuck is Lio Rush? The best thing about Bobby Lashley wasn't there. Fuck. And the match just started. I was like, Bobby Lashley, he has no personality, and the guy who makes him have some personality is not there, and John Cena's not doing him any favors because he wasn't over. The crowd didn't like John Cena. I was like, when he goes anywhere in the world, they always chant for him. Anywhere. But the Australian crowd, I mean, they were maybe hardcore fans and they got it. So, yeah, they didn't do much with him. And after that, we see Bobby Lashley. He was in the ring. He did most of the match. And as he was just selling all over the place, we see Kevin Owens. Then we see Elias just working on him. And Kevin Owens was just talking trash to John Cena as he was on the apron waiting for the tag, which was fun. I mean, Kevin Owens, whenever he talks, he's very, very entertaining. So they did the spots, and Bobby Lashley, he tried to do some moves, but he was so clunky. It looked really bad. It looked even worse than the new guys from NXT and their matches at the house shows in NXT that they do. I was like, what's wrong with this dude? Maybe he didn't know how to position himself or do the moves, but he didn't look good. But then at the end, he did this weak spine buster and gave the tag to John Cena. John Cena gave in, and when he came in the ring, he did the 5 knuckles shuffle, the AA, and his new move, which looks like out of an animation or something. He does the X sign, which the CM Punk used to do, and punches his opponent in the face. And they called this, I'm not kidding you, they called this the Shinta Twanto. The Shintai Twanto, which I have no idea what it means. I think it is a taekwondo thing. It is a punch to the face. Then he talked to the crowd. He said, "Oh, I'm very happy to come back because I'm so loyal to the product." And the crowd was just booing John Cena. And I was like, this is funny. This is real funny. I mean, come on. John Cena, one of the most popular guys, maybe in WWE history. And for him to come back after such a long time. And he looks so old. And when I say old, it's because of his new haircut. He looks like an old dad, who's buffed up and walks around, I'm your daddy. And, he didn't look good. So, Bobby Lashley, please, next time when you're coming out, especially on Monday Night Raw, I think for sure we're going to see Lio Rush with him. But for him to come out without him, I think it's a big thumb down. Yeah, it is. The Iconics, they came out, and they thought they are in Australia and they're going to be cheered, but it was 50-50. I think there was more boos than cheers in some cases. Whenever they talked about Australia, they got cheered, and they did the Rock thing, in which they said, "Oh, finally, we're home." And they sucked. So then we see Asuka and Naomi coming out. I thought, Asuka, they're going to give her some shine in this match, and she's going to work with Naomi so well, as there are rumors of tag team titles for the women's division. But that didn't work, because Asuka didn't do much. And the Iconics, they were doing double teams and cheating all over the place with the referee not looking. And at the end of the day, we see a double team from the Iconics. It was a wheelbarrow into a knee to the face, and they win. The crowd was kind of happy about it, but whenever after they won, they became emotional, and they cheered them even more, and they were like, "Oh, we are happy. We are happy to be, winning in our hometown." And they did this interview after the show, and they were talking about their emotions and what they sacrificed to be there. I'm happy for them, but Asuka, what's going on with you? Where were you with the streak? And where are you now? There's a huge difference. They built up Asuka in NXT so well, with her winning her matches and doing awesome stuff and promos and everything. She came to the main roster. It was the kiss of death when Charlotte defeated her. And then after that, we see Charlotte basically, having the cash-in from Carmella, in which it didn't make any sense. That's how you kill your talent. And you're not doing favors for Asuka at all. I don't know what's next for her. I mean, is she going to be a heel? Is she going to continue as a babyface and fight her way back and have a match with Becky Lynch, in which I think is going to be a very awesome match if these two are going to compete in the ring together. But is it too hard to fix? That's how I feel. I feel like it's so hard to fix Asuka now, because she had this aura and she had the mystique about her, but she doesn't have that anymore. It's a shame. AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe for the WWE title. This was just great. They knew that the crowd needs to be invested in the match. They went back and forth. AJ did a moonsault into a back DDT. Then Samoa Joe turned AJ Styles inside out with a clothesline, and Samoa Joe did a beautiful power slam. Then the crowd just cooled down. For some reason, I don't know, maybe someone told them it's a break or something, but it wasn't. So Samoa knew at that moment it should get extreme. He took a steel chair. AJ Styles did a front kick onto Samoa Joe's face with the chair, in front of him. And then after that, we see AJ Styles just being he's not walking well. I don't know if he was selling, but he wasn't himself. He wasn't the AJ Styles that we know. So then he takes the chair. He rams Samoa Joe with it all over the place. Then he puts the chair and sits in front of him. It was a great visual. And after that, Samoa Joe, as AJ Styles was jumping, Samoa Joe does a Uranagi for AJ Styles to land on the chair, but he misses. So AJ just touches the side of the chair, which is more painful more painful to go through the whole chair, and he was in agony. Like I saw, he was just screaming all over the place. And then we see AJ Styles. They set up a table, so Samoa Joe was about to get AJ Styles from the top rope, but AJ Styles goes down. He puts Samoa Joe in the electric chair position, and they fall down into a table. So the table catches the side of the knee of Samoa Joe, and we can see him selling it, and the referee going for him and telling him, "Are you okay?" Samoa Joe goes like, "I think it popped, but I'm going to continue the match." So AJ Styles tells the referee to move aside so they can continue the match. And then he works on the knees of Samoa Joe. Samoa was just selling all over the place. And at this moment, I think AJ Styles was the heel here. But he was, utilizing that pain and working on it so he can win. And we can't forget his calf crusher, the submission that he uses. So he was using that on Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe was about to tap out, but he turned that into the coquina clutch, in which AJ Styles just slide out of it, and he goes outside of the ring. AJ Styles does a 450 splash on Samoa Joe's knee, and a phenomenal forearm on the outside to the floor. Calf crusher in the ring. So Samoa Joe is just fighting, and I was like, he needs to find a way out. And he was so close to grab the ropes, but he tapped out. Samoa Joe taps out. I rolled my eyes so far back my head that I was checking my brain cells for a second, because who the fuck makes Samoa Joe, the killer, tap out? Then I remembered it's WWE. Of course they gotta do that. First of all, they have the fucking 2K game coming out, even though it's already out and you can pre-order it. And then you have the CM Punk record that they want allegedly for AJ Styles to break, and which I think it sucks, because we're done with AJ Styles. We're done with him. If you have a champion, you need to have a good long feud with an awesome heel, and Samoa Joe is the best heel in the company, so they're not doing any favors for anyone, even for AJ Styles himself. So what will be next? Samoa Joe, what is he now? He's a loser. He lost to AJ Styles twice, fairly, with a count. And what's going to happen to him? Man, this sucks. It sucks big time. The Riot Squad versus Ronda Rousey and the Bella Twins. Ruby Riot is a redhead now, which I think it makes her hotter. She's, yeah. So Brie grabbed Liv Morgan's tongue. And I was like, okay, we don't need another Randy Orton on the roster right now, okay? He does the grabbing and, putting stuff and putting his fingers into holes, but we don't need the girl to do that. So after that, Sarah Logan was working on Nikki's chest. I would like to do that too. I don't know, but Nikki was smiling throughout the whole thing. It took me out of the match, that I was like, can you take this seriously? Because it wasn't that good. And then Ronda Rousey came in. She took care of all the girls beautifully. Ronda was about to apply the armbar, but Liv Morgan came in for the save. And Ronda did a double armbar on both Liv Morgan and Sarah Logan that looked awesome. And they both tapped out. This was a great finish. Ronda Rousey doesn't need to do much. And for her to be a destroyer and to destroy girls, I think that's the best thing that they can do with Ronda. And there was no turn here, because we thought the main event is going to be Nikki Bella versus Ronda Rousey at Evolution. But it didn't come here. It seems like they're going to build up to it until Evolution comes. And they even showed the graphics she's going to have a match at Evolution. We don't know who's the contender. So let's see what happens. I hope they don't do a tournament or something, because Nikki Bella will suck in those matches. And let's see. I want to see Ronda Rousey versus Natalya, or Ronda Rousey versus Ember Moon. Someone on the roster. I don't want to see Nikki or Brie Bella. Let them do their tag team matches just to be part of the match, and not be a single competitor, because that wouldn't look good at all. So, after that, we had the second best match on the show. It was Buddy Murphy versus Cedric Alexander. The champ came in first, and he was first introduced, Cedric Alexander. Then JoJo introduced Buddy Murphy before he came out. to get the hometown pop, and he was over as fuck. The match started hot with a knee from Murphy, then a top Paycon helo from him. Cedric Alexander did a super kick to Murphy right onto his mouth, that I thought maybe he's gonna bleed from his mouth or something. And as Cedric Alexander was sitting on the top rope, we can see Buddy Murphy going to him, and as he goes up there, Buddy Murphy does a Michinoku driver. It was so quick from the top rope to the canvas. I was like, holy shit. And they were doing just crazy stuff all over the place. I mean, top Paycon helo from Cedric, then we see a knee from Buddy Murphy again, just like the V-trigger. And then he tries his finisher, but Cedric rolls out. And as he's rolling out, he does a Spanish fly, then a lumbar chick, his finisher. But Buddy Murphy kicks fucking out. Murphy does the Murphy's Law and wins the Cruiserweight title. You should have seen the crowd when he won the title. They were just going apeshit. They were so happy for the guy, the hometown boy. He wins the title, and I thought it was the perfect time for him to be the winner and the champ. I know he's a babyface in Australia. He's going to come back to 205 Live. He's going to be a heel. But that's fine, because I think the Cedric Alexander chapter should be done with. And, there should be a new chapter with Buddy Murphy. We should have a strong babyface to go against him. I think they're going to have, a bunch of matches with each other, but they need a very strong babyface to go against Buddy Murphy. And I think he's a very cool wrestler. And I mean, he works very hard in the ring. And his whole story, I think, is great because he pushed WWE to be in 205 Live, and he just lost a lot of weight to be on the show, and now he's the champion. It's awesome. And I can't forget, his match with Mustafa Ali on 205 Live. It was one of the best matches of the year. It was so good. So 205 Live, they are in good hands. Very good hands. Braun Strowman, Dolph Ziggler, Drew McIntyre versus The Shield. So, the match was so boring as Seth Rollins was selling the entire time, until Braun went on the top rope and did a splash. I mean, when he goes to the top rope, this giant behemoth person to go on the top rope, it's scary. Like, what is this guy doing? Like, what if he lands wrong or something? I mean, we can never forget, that visual of Sid Vicious, breaking his leg in half and going the other way, because he's so big. You don't need to go up there. So he crashes and burns, and Seth Rollins is just, moves away and tags in Dean Ambrose. Dean Ambrose was just attacks, and I was fighting not to fall asleep because the crowd was doing that too. Then I woke up. All of a sudden, I realized, Roman accidentally knocks Dean Ambrose out of the ring with a Superman punch. The Dogs of War, they take over, Superman punch from Reigns for 2 count, and the crowd was so dead. I thought, I was the one feeling down about the crowd because it was 2 hours and 40 minutes only. And I realized, hey, there is 2 more matches to go. Hey, okay, don't fall asleep now. So Dean was on the apron with the dogs thinking about turning on his brothers. So Dean was thinking, because Roman gave him the Superman punch. And he was like, should I join them? Should I do that? He goes in the ring. He attacks Braun Strowman. He takes all of them out. Drew lands on Roman Reigns, and the crowd was just dead. And the reason he lands on him is because they were trying to do the triple power bomb on Drew McIntyre, but Braun Strowman comes in and just attacks them like some kind of a spear combination, and Drew just lands on Roman Reigns. It looked nasty, man. I was like, Drew, he's a heavy guy, and to land on you is not fun. So we see a zigzag from Dolph Ziggler on Dean, but Dean kicks out. Braun was about to take out Dean on the side, but Roman shows out of nowhere and spears him through the barricade on the floor, and Braun Strowman goes face first on the unprotected floor. Face first. I hope he's doing okay now, because that looked bad. And then we see, in the ring, we see a dirty deed from Dean Ambrose on Dolph Ziggler for the win. And I said, finally it's over. This boring match is finally fucking over. And Dean Ambrose was just standing there, and they do the shield pose. They do the fisting with each other. The shield fist. Nothing was wrong. Nothing at all. With all these theaters of Dean Ambrose turning on his team, I don't think it's gonna happen. Because when they make something very obvious, it never happens. So let's see. It's either Seth Rollins, in which I think that's the more viable contender for a person to turn heel in the group, as Roman Reigns will never be a heel. He's a babyface anyways. So, The Miz versus Daniel Bryan to determine the number one contender for the WWE title. So we already saw AJ Styles winning his match. It was kind of a given that a heel should win this match, so it can be a heel versus babyface match. And I was hoping that Daniel Bryan would win, so we can watch something unique, between the two, Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles. And the match started. The Miz did his yes kicks, but Daniel Bryan reversed that with his own yes kicks on The Miz. The Miz did a running knee, which is the finisher of Daniel Bryan's, but Daniel Bryan kicks out. And then Daniel Bryan does an inside cradle for the win. It was less than 2 minutes, I think. I don't know if it is like 1 minute, but I'm sure it will be less than 2 minutes. And Daniel Bryan just wins the match. So he is the number one contender to go against AJ Styles at Crown Jewel in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia, baby. I mean, the matches look so awesome over there. And Shawn Michaels, let me talk about the main event before I talk about that. But yeah, it's gonna happen there. I don't know why they made the match so quick. They gave a lot of time to the main event, and the main event was awesome. Come on, The Undertaker versus Triple H in their corners. The Undertaker was, his brother Kane, and in Triple H's corner was Shawn Michaels. Triple H, as he was coming out from his entrance, he had his jacket on, and there was the logo of NXT on it, which I thought it's very, very cool. So at the beginning of the match, we see Triple H. He was ducking the Undertaker until Undertaker got a hold of him, and he went old school on his ass. A land dart from Taker to Triple H into the barricade. Then we see Shawn Michaels pushing Taker into the post. And Kane went after him, but Shawn ran away. Triple H and Shawn were setting up a table, and Taker did a body drop on Triple H, a back body drop, as Triple H was about to pedigree him to the floor. I mean, poor Triple H. And then we see Undertaker cleaning the announcer's table, as Shawn was distracting Taker, and Kane was just standing over there like, dude, you're Mr. Mayor, hello, your brother is being taken, he's being attacked here, brutalized with two guys, and you're just standing on the other side. I didn't get that. Like, why would you do that? But anyways, Mr. Mayor doesn't do anything, and then we see The Undertaker and Triple H. They go into the crowd. Taker finds a wire, I think a wire cord for maybe for the Titantrons or something, like a white wire cord, and he chokes out Triple H, and Triple H was just choking out. Then I remembered the Attitude Era. I was like, hey, we saw a lot of these stuff, back then, not now. So The Undertaker was about to take chair shots to Triple H, but Shawn Michaels stops him. He doesn't succeed, and Undertaker does a huge punch on Shawn Michaels' face, and they go back and forth, between the two of them. And as Kane was trying to interfere to help his brother, we see Shawn Michaels and Triple H setting up Kane on the table on the outside, and Triple H goes to the top rope, and he does an elbow drop through the table. So Kane is dead now. They go inside the ring, the both of them, they're trying back and forth, Taker and Triple H. Shawn Michaels gets taken out, and Undertaker does a choke slam, and then a tombstone pile driver. He pins Triple H, but Triple H kicks out. And as he kicks out, he looks on the outside, he sees Shawn Michaels over there. He tells him to bring him a sledgehammer. So he hands him the sledgehammer, and Kane, he comes out and he gives a chair to the Undertaker. And Undertaker, as he was holding the chair up, Triple H slams the sledgehammer into the face of the Undertaker while he was holding the steel chair. He goes after him, he does the pedigree, 1, 2, 3, but there is no referees. This continues between the two of them until the end. We see Shawn Michaels helping Triple H, he gives him the sweet chin music, and Triple H does the pedigree, 1, 2, 3, he wins the match. Triple H finally defeats The Undertaker. This was great. Storytelling was at its finest. I loved it so much. I don't care what you say about the wrestling and Taker's condition in this match. I thought the match was awesome. It was, the highlight of the show. And, the only thing that can come in par is the Buddy Murphy match. I think that was the second best match on the show, but the storytelling over here was phenomenal. And if they gave them even more time to do this kind of match, I say, kudos to them. And we don't need to see a long Daniel Bryan versus Miz matches, because we can see that match at WrestleMania. They can save that and we can see it later. And now we have a contender anyways. And for this match to go this long and to do this awesome stuff, I thought it was amazing and it was great. And then we see Triple H and Shawn Michaels hugging it out. They're very emotional. And The Undertaker and Kane, they come in the ring. They all celebrate, raise each other's hands. And the crowd was so happy. The crowd was so into this match. Really into this match, and everything that they did, going through the crowd and coming in, using chairs, tables, sledgehammers, everything in between. It was great. Made to perfection. And after the match, after they are celebrated, we thought, the show is about to go out, but no. The Undertaker and Kane, they attack both Shawn Michaels and Triple H, and first we see The Undertaker giving a tombstone pile driver to Triple H. Then both him and his brother, they go to the outside, and he gives a choke slam to Shawn Michaels through the announcer's table. And the tag team match between these two teams is going to be, as it is rumored, at WWE Crown Jewel, for sure. Now I think it is for sure. We're going to see it there, and it will be Undertaker and Kane versus Shawn Michaels and Triple H. It will be the return of Shawn Michaels, and there are rumors that Survivor Series is going to be The Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels in a singles match. If I'm going to rate the show, I think the show was about 7. 7 for sure, because of the fuck finishes and Samoa Joe not winning the WWE title. But other than that, the quality of the matches, it was good. Maybe the weakest match was the match of the Iconics. And the Shield was fine, but I think because the crowd was so dead. But they did their stuff. They did the stuff very well. And we don't need to see Seth Rollins, selling for the first 15 minutes. We don't need to see that. Give us high spots, the same way that Roman Reigns does his Universal title matches. High spot, just like the Young Bucks matches. So they gave us this match, and the match at Hell in a Cell, it was between Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose going against Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler. That was like the match of the year, the best tag team match maybe of the year. And now we see this. It wasn't that good. But overall, a very good show.